started. So thank you all for being on this call with us this afternoon. We are excited to host another workshop within this series that we're doing to help students and faculty and staff just learn some new skills, learn some new information as it relates to getting career ready. So today we're going to be talking about industry certifications, and we are very excited to have Jaslyn Harris on the call with us today. She's a career coach. She has a background in HR, but she's also in IT. So she has a lot of valuable information to share with us today. And so we're really grateful to have her on here doing this presentation for us. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself and my colleague who's on the call with us today. So my name is Brittany Hollis, and I am in the IET division at Nova on the Annandale campus when we're actually back on campuses. That's where you can find me. And then my colleague, Tiffany Rozier, is on the Woodbridge campus, and she is the STEM education coordinator. And me and Tiffany work very closely on a lot of career exploration and career readiness activities. And so we are hoping to continue this workshop series throughout the remainder of the summer, and we hope that you all will continue to join us. Before we get started, we want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Let's see. So just a couple of things. As Tiffany lets more folks in, thank you for changing your name so we can identify you. Please, throughout the session, make sure that your microphone is muted and your video is turned off. It just helps the presentation to run a bit smoother. If you have questions at any time, you can type those in the chat. Tiffany and I will be monitoring the chat for your questions. Just make sure you put a Q in front of your question so we know that it is a question. If you need captioning, there is a closed caption button in your Zoom menu, either at the bottom or the top of your screen. I'm not sure where it's located on your screen, but if you just click that closed caption button, you should be able to see the words popping up on the screen. And lastly, at the end of the session, we're going to send out a survey to get your feedback. The feedback is really helpful to us as we plan our future workshops and events going into the fall semester. So please provide any feedback that you have as it relates to this workshop. And if you need documentation of your attendance for a class or a club or what have you, please indicate that on the feedback form, and we'll be able to help you out with that. So that's it for our housekeeping. I'm going to hand it over to Jaslyn so she can introduce herself and go ahead and get started. So Jaslyn, I'm going to stop my share and then you'll be able to share. All right, I think we're good to go. Jaslyn, we can't hear you.
There we go. I had to, the host had to unmute me. Sorry about that. It's okay. Thank you.
Let me make you a co-host. Sorry.
It's all right. Thank you, everybody. I hope everyone is having a good afternoon this morning. I do appreciate the introduction, Brittany, and I'm glad to be here to kind of go over this virtual review of industry certifications. So let me pull up my screen. We'll be able to get started. As she mentioned, I am one of the IT directors with my company, Prism Inc. We're a small subcontracting firm. We cater to a lot of government support within DoD, Homeland Security, and a few other agencies specific to entry-level to architect positions, catering to fields such as cybersecurity, application development, cloud, and infrastructure. All right, so let's get started. Okay. I also am a career coach. I do this as a passion on the side, and throughout my daily duties of work, even though staffing is part of my support, but I do come into interactions with IT professionals from all over, from entry to working professionals and so forth. So I really enjoy this part of my job. I recently just got certified as well. As you can see, I love IT, and it's an ever-changing field. I think the importance, whether you are starting out entry level, maybe you're transitioning from a different industry, or maybe you've been in this field for a couple of years, even if that is so, it really starts out from the identification process. And that simply means these following 3 items beneath. When you have to find your passion, and that simply means, you know, what are some things that you're interested in? What motivates you? Like, what do you feel strong about? Because that will indicate exactly where you need to go. This also entails research and discovery. I mean, researching requires continuous education. You have to continuously study where the market, you know, is currently, especially throughout these times, and things that may interest you. Once you do that, you'll be able to discover and align things fully. Staying relevant, that's very, very important to this industry. As IT changes every 6 to 18 months, it's very crucial for you to stay up to date with the patterns, the trends, as well as certifications. So here's a list of fields that pretty much encompasses everything within IT. And I'll go a little bit further, but you have 4 sections here that goes over application development, IT infrastructure, cloud, and cybersecurity. All right, so this is a really, really good outline as far as your top 10 entry-level industry certifications. And keep in mind, everyone, these are certifications that you can obtain without having a degree. So to start off, you have your CCNT, which is a really entry-level network technician cert. These positions are very good for those who may be a network analyst, or maybe you're just analyzing the network for performance, not too much of a duty that you're doing just yet, but at least that gives you an understanding of what to look for as a network analyst, even as a technician. There is the Certified Ethical Hacker, or the CEH. This is really good if you're interested in furthering your experience as becoming maybe a penetration tester. And that's typically when you're cracking the code, as they would call it. You're looking for any malicious activity. You have the CCNA, which is the Cisco Certified Network Associate. This is a little bit more advanced. It's a higher level than the first cert. This is when someone is specifically getting to more of the hardware components of the routers and switches. So maybe you're more at a network administrator level where you're installing, configuring, and troubleshooting these components. Then you have, sorry, let me move this over. You have the CompTIA fundamentals. CompTIA has a very wide suite of certifications, so it's a very good user source. The fundamentals gives you the basics of IT. What is IT? What does information technology encompass? Your CompTIA A+ gets real specific when you need to understand the difference between hardware and software. Your CompTIA Network Plus gives you a real outline of the different layers, such as TCP, IP, UDP, and the common protocols. There are 7 layers in the network that will highlight for you. Then you have the CompTIA Security Plus. That is one that everyone really looks forward to if you're trying to break into as an entry-level cybersecurity person. This really highlights network security. It also highlights the common malicious malware that you would typically see on a computer, such as worms, Trojans, and anything such of that nature. Then you have the MTA, which is the Microsoft Technology Associate. This is very good if you're operating on a Windows platform as an entry-level person. Maybe you've installed a few operating systems, maybe you've upgraded an operating system such as Windows 7 to Windows 10. The MCSA, which is the Solutions Associate, that's a little bit more advanced than the MTA. Typically, you will get that cert when you start to become a systems administrator. And this is where you're installing servers, troubleshooting, maintaining, and configuring. Then you have the PMI Associate, not yet the PMP, but this gives you the credibility to show that, hey, you have an interest in management of tasks, end-to-end, budgets, even people. Additional certifications. And keep in mind, this is not it. There's so much out there. But these certifications here to the right are going to be more as you become seasoned in your career. You have the CISSP, which is a highly, highly valuable, profitable certification if you have the time and effort to put in. It is one of the most recognized certifications. However, there are a lot of other security certifications that fall in the equivalent line as well. For example, there is the CISM, which is the Certified Information Systems Manager cert. There's one that's the CISA, the Auditor cert, and it goes on and on and on. Actually, CompTIA has the CASP, the CASP, that is the CompTIA Advanced Security Practitioner. If you had to weigh a CISSP versus CASP, they even the same weight. Just depending on the agency you're supporting, they may go for the other. You have the CCNP, which is the Certified Cisco Network Professional. That is higher than the CCNA. So if you're gonna get that certification, you're most likely at an engineering platform now. Engineers, they're gonna build, they're gonna implement, they're gonna design, and possibly start doing some architecture support for the infrastructure. You have the MCSE, which is the Microsoft Certified System Engineer. This is higher next to the MCSA. At this platform, you're most likely a systems engineer, where you're building servers, creating, and you're implementing and designing. Red Hat is a vendor. Red Hat is a flavor of Linux, which is another operating system server. Red Hat is competing against Windows, and actually Linux has been out for a very, very long time, but due to cloud and automation and where technology is going, Red Hat is surpassing Windows at a rapid rate than I think anyone imagined. So Red Hat Certified Administrator, so versus you being a Windows administrator, you're being a Red Hat Linux administrator. That is a certification you can obtain at an administrator level. You have the Oracle Java certification. This is very good if you're in programming, and a lot of Java developers typically will have that as well. The PMP, now this is more of the project management professional. You are truly a PM at this point, end-to-end tasks, managing people, big budgets. You're trying to stay within constraints. That kind of goes hand in hand with the Scrum. That's dealing with sprints, high collaborations, working in an agile adaptability environment. ITIL falls in line with that as well. So a lot of times if you're in these PM, Scrum, ITIL methodologies, it's all about process and procedures and how you move in accord. Then the last three are your new cloud public platforms. And keep in mind, guys, there's a lot out there, but these are your top three, with Amazon leading the industry. So you have AWS, you have Google, and you have Microsoft Azure. Career trajectories. These are just several, but there are so many out there. So this is just to kind of give you an idea. Typically, when most people start on an IT, whether you just graduated with a degree, or let's say you're still in school, or you have no education at all, but maybe you're working on a certification, or you already have that cert. Most people start off in the help desk desktop realm. So you go from assisting people over the phone with technical support, such as troubleshooting, identifying the issue, and then you have tier 1 all the way to tier 3. Then you'll escalate it up. Then once you move from that point, next in line is desktop support. So you go from phone to in person. You're actually physically going to help the end user fix that issue in person. Then you have network. Before I get to that point, typically the career trajectory is help desk desktop. And once you get to desktop, you're going to either figure out, man, I really like the network, or I really like the system. So you can go either way. So with the network and systems, they really have the same trajectory. Either you're going to be a technician analyst, then you'll work your way through administration, engineering, then even architect level. Storage is a very unique component of the infrastructure. It's a very small, confined space. There are not that many jobs out there, but you are in demand when they are. So it's a very unique niche skill set. So in storage, you will be either administrator or engineer or architect. You have database. As you know, we all may be familiar with a lot of databases such as Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, DynamoDB. There's so many different databases out there. And typically the common path for that is either you becoming a DBA or developer. Then you have application development. Most people think of programming when you hear that, but application development is very, very broad when it comes to the different trajectories. So you can either be a programmer, a software developer, and that can either be web, it could be full stack, it could be front end, it could be back end. You can be a business systems analyst. You're analyzing the systems. You're gathering requirements. You're kind of the liaison between the customer and the engineering team. The project manager can either be a technical PM. They could be a functional PM. They can just manage the project, or they can manage the project and people. You have agile coaches, and you have scrum masters. Cybersecurity is a very, very broad field. In this field, you really have to identify exactly what it is that you want to do. However, I will tell you, if you start off in security, this field is very transferable to other components of security because you already started in some measures of, risk management, vulnerability, intrusion detection. So with cybersecurity, you can be in forensics, you can be in information assurance, where you're typically following policies and procedures according to standard guidelines such as NIST or FISMA or HIPAA, if that makes sense to most. As far as cybersecurity engineering goes, you have the SOC, where you're actually in a secured environment center, so secured operating center, that's what SOC stands for, where you have nothing but monitors and computers, and you're looking at the activity that you see on the screen for any malicious things that are abnormal. So that way you can identify, you can remediate and solve that solution. You have penetration testers. These are the ones who ethically hack the code. You have the cybersecurity engineers across many platforms, specific to the network of intrusion detection and intrusion protection. So there's many systems for that and technologies out there. And then you get a little bit deeper, specific to forensics, malware. You're looking for advanced threat persistence. You're looking for common habits and behaviors. And there's security within everything. You have security in applications, you have security in cloud, you have security in network, you have security in the systems, security in the databases. Security is everything. Then you have cloud. Cloud is not new. It's just new to a lot of organizations, especially to the government as far as implementing. But cloud falls in everything of the infrastructure. Cloud is now in cybersecurity. Cloud is now in application development. And all of the platforms you see listed are your common public clouds. And mention there's hybrid, public, and private cloud. So just to kind of give you an idea of that, when you say hybrid, you're taking your private cloud and you're using public cloud together. When you have your private cloud, that's traditionally an internal cloud that's run by that company only. All right, so here are 7 additional certs according to the Balanced Careers and Monsters 2020. And actually the Balanced Careers is a good website to use if you're trying to figure out how to transition into IT. This is a really good entry-level resource to use as well. So you have the web developer and computer programming. There are so many certifications out there just specific for this. The common ones that you may see is Adobe, the ACE. They have that specific to content, video, digital. There's so many different ones that you can use according to that. Then you have Microsoft's Certified Solutions Developer or Designer, which helps you design business applications across many Microsoft platforms using development tools such as SharePoint, C#, HTML5 with JavaScript. So these are front-end technologies. Then you have AWS Certified Developers. So what this developer would actually do is develop web applications specific to that infrastructure in the cloud. Then you have PHP Engineering. This is a back-end technology a developer would be certified in. However, once again, you could be certified in Java, you could be certified in Python. There are other technologies out there. These are just some of the common ones you may see. Computer support specialist. This goes back to the previous slide where we talked about help desk desktop. This is exactly what this person is. You have your HDI certification, which is your hardware deployment. Like this gives you credibility that you know how to deal with hardware. You have your CompTIA A+, Net+. We talked about that previously. Here are a few other certifications, specific to, let's say, cybersecurity, because the other ones we already talked about. CompTIA also has a cybersecurity analyst cert that they just implemented to their list of security certifications. So if you're going to be a security analyst, SOC analyst, and you want just a little bit more value than a Security Plus, well, the CYSA would be a great certification along with the others. If you are going to be a network goes in many different directions. So, from technicians to analysts, engineers, and so forth, but there's a different side of network. There's the telecom industry where you have telecommunications network certifications. So you have a certified telecom analyst, which is the CTA, certified wireless analyst, which is the CWA, certified VoIP analyst, voice over IP. So actually voice over IP is exactly what we're doing right now. The capability of using your tablets, your cell phones, your computers. And then graphics designers will essentially use a lot of the Adobe Suite products. All right, so best practices. I strongly believe, as once again, whether you're entering, transitioning fields, the working professional, these goals are definitely important to have as you start off. From having a short-term goal, it may be, okay, within the first 6 months to a year, I'm gonna make sure that I get this type of training, join this training group, and maybe get certified. And then within 5 years and beyond, you wanna have a short-term and long-term goal, specifically that IT continuously change. You want to stay up to date. Build your network. Your network is your network. You hear network, people say that all the time. Network is have a buddy system. Maybe there's someone in the field that you're interested in getting into. See what worked for them and what didn't work for them. Using all social media platforms. This is very, very, very critical as far as your career path, because it's not just about putting your resume on job boards and hoping that you get the job. A lot of hires are actually taking place through network connections. LinkedIn is a great resource for that. Volunteer work and internships. I know we all are looking to get paid, but at the end of the day, to get some type of hands-on experience, it's not a bad idea to take a volunteer assignment that may give you 30 days, 60 days, 90 days of experience. Internships typically are 90 days to 6 months, depending on the operation. These are very valuable to have because when it's time for you to graduate and find your first opportunity, employers are looking for some type of experience. Home labs, this is very, very important. I've actually assisted several entry-level IT students with employment just based off of a home lab. And that may mean you have a workstation, you have a laptop at home, and maybe you installed a new operating system, whether it's Windows or Linux, you installed a small firewall, a virtual server, and then you installed some security. Maybe you used McAfee to detect any vulnerabilities or malicious activity. That's giving you the leverage that you need to say, hey, I don't have enterprise experience, but I do have the knowledge and I'm willing to learn. Take advantage of online training. There's a lot of free online training material and free and inexpensive. So udemy.com has everything in IT that you can think of. If you're interested in, you just type that in and you will be surprised. You will get completed certificates of training and then you can set up to schedule your exam. Cybrary is great for cybersecurity. Lynda.com, Code Academy, these are great for development programming. Don't get certified for the sake of it. I push this as a big matter because a lot of times people get certifications based off of what their friend got, what someone told them it would be good, but that wasn't necessarily catering to what that individual really was passionate about or their trajectory path within that timeline. So I urge you to make sure that you research what it is that you want to do, 1 to 5 year plan, and you base your certifications based off of that. It's nothing like getting a certification that you can't do nothing with because it's not relevant. So once again, we talk about relevancy, staying relevant within your career field. This is very, very important as once again, IT is ever changing. Technology is changing so fast. I mean, 6 to 18 months and it's out. And matter of fact, it may be a shorter period. The evolution of automation is the reasons why things are changing so fast. Research your field of study and its lifespan, meaning, okay, if I enter in this field today, and I used this before, systems administrators, they're very well needed, but they have that human interaction where they have to do patch management overnight, on weekends, periodically, so they have to come in, or maybe they'll do it remotely. Due to automation, it's taking out the human interaction, so code is executed within a matter of seconds and minutes, and it does the job for them. So eventually what will happen is it'll become obsolete for administrators, and all we need is really engineers and architects to continuously rebuild and upgrade the infrastructure. Unemployment rate. Really understand what the employment rate is at the current state. Now, before COVID, unemployment rates, just to give you an example, for cybersecurity was at a -0. For software development or application development, it was at a 1.6, and this is across the US. Overall IT, this was 3%. Now, obviously that's changed due to COVID, but this is just to give you an idea of, okay, Cybersecurity, application development, these are hot fields, which means you're always going to have a job. You're in high demand, great money, very lucrative fields. Look at Bureau of Labor of Statistics. This is going to give you exactly the two things that I mentioned as far as lifespan, unemployment rates, and if this is really a field that you can see yourself developing into. And I'm not talking about 5-10 years. This is a 20-year plus field until you decide to say, hey, I'm going to retire. Obviously, you're going to evolve over time with technology as well. Research your market value, meaning, okay, at this stage of the game, I have this amount of years of experience, I have this education or certification. My market rate shows that I should be in this median of compensation. Try not to price yourself out of an opportunity. Keep in mind that times are different. However, when you come to the table with this information, it makes it easier for you to negotiate with employers. For example, when I graduated with my master's, I thought, okay, I have my master's, I deserve $70,000. Reality gave it to me real. I made $40,000, but I took the strides and steps to get to where I wanted to be, and the rest is history. But just so research the market value and where you're coming in at. Learn and master how to beat your competition. IT, even though it's a great field to be in, it's very saturated. Here's an example. An employer will look at 2 resumes, similar background. Let's say they went to the same college, same degree, 5 years experience. One has an A+, the other has a security plus, and a network plus. Due to the fact of the different levels of certifications and multitude of certifications, most likely that other candidate will get the job. So you always want to outbeat your competition. Continuous education, I urge, because technology is changing. You can't get complacent, you can't get comfortable. Continuous training requires you to either be active within forums, training groups, maybe you're updating certifications, keep them active. A lot of certifications may require you to update every 2 years, every 3 years. So you want to make sure you are staying relevant and continue to network. Research where technology is heading along with the market, especially post-COVID. As you know, there are a lot of people who are unemployed right now who have to make the decisions of what field can I transition to that is going to be lucrative from this point, because the market is not going to be what it used to be. So you're going to have a lot of individuals that are going to try to transition into IT. And honestly, I would say that is the best move. At the end of the day, you have to do your research in what field is going to have a long-lasting lifespan, and that you may be interested in, and how well you can certify, get training, and build your network. Always have a what next action step. This is very important. We all set goals, and it's like, we all fall short to this sometimes. I worked so hard on this, I finally did it, now I'm going to relax. In this field, once again, you can't relax. So if you said, okay, I'm gonna get my cert within 6 months to a year, okay, what is the next cert I can get that's gonna better my chances in the next job opportunity and to keep my mind fresh? That is always a what next step. And that is the end. Sure.
Okay, if you have questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat. Thank you so much, Jaslyn. That was great, as always. So we'll be monitoring the chat for your questions. Can you email me? Oh, sorry. I'm reading the waiting room chat, wrong chat. Any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat. Okay, so we have a question from Ali. It says, what would be the best way to land an internship?
I honestly would say the best way starting would be the institution that you're with. Your career coaches, your counselors that are guiding you through until completion. If they have a job resource network that they partner with different companies where they're looking for internships to hopefully place you after completion, that would be the first way. But there are a lot of free online resources that will tell you exactly what companies are hiring specific for internships. Now, keep in mind, some internships, they may want you to work longer than 3 months, and some may be 30 days. However, I believe whatever you can get will be even better to prepare you for when it's time for you to graduate. And if you do a good job, a lot of those companies will rehire you.
Yes, I know several students who have done internships that have turned over into full-time employment. If you are looking for internships, part-time, full-time job opportunities, Career Connection, which is a free tool that every NOVA student has access to, it's a place where you can do many things in Career Connection, but one of the things available to you is a job and internship posting board, and you can actually filter it out by the different industries. So I would check Career Connection, and I'll drop a link, or either Tiffany, if you could drop a link for Career Connection in the chat. But you just use your NOVA student email to sign in, and then you can have access to anything in Career Connection. The next question says, if you get a degree in IT or cybersecurity but don't have these certs, do employers expect you to get them during your employment?
Not always. It really depends on the organization, and you'll realize that. I think if they see that you have a degree and no certifications, it's more of a matter of a desired, most likely, translation. Try to work on one. That will always better your chances to secure an employment. And I would also see if they have any certification reimbursement programs as well, if that's just something you can't do at the time. And even if you don't get certified, once again, there's training out there where you can take it, and once you complete it, then it will give you a completed certificate of training. Post that on your resume, put it on your profile. That will still give you value of what you need until you fully get certified.
Okay. Someone said, I am a biology major, but I've been taking an online course in Python. What credentials do I need before I can get an internship or workplace experience? I'm worried that I have to get a bachelor's in data science before I can see if it's really a good fit.
Well, that's a very great question. So coming from biology, you're taking a Python course. What is your aim? Where are you trying to go in IT? Development? Do you know?
Andreas, I'm going to unmute you. Hold on a sec.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. So I'm not exactly sure where Python is going to take me. I've just heard that like if you want to study data science and be able to sift through like large amounts of data, you should learn Python. And I'm not sure if I want to do that for a career yet. So I want to take an internship, but like I'm worried that I'll have to complete like a full degree before I can figure out like, or before I can get an internship.
Yeah, so data analytics, big data, machine learning, AI, those are very high level, extensive fields to get into, especially even entry level. So it will take some other credentials, maybe a degree. I don't know if there's something that offers even at associate level, but even if you did training and certifications, you would really have to have a strong network of someone to take a chance to train you up. So I think that goes back to identification. I know you mentioned it because people said it was good to have. Really try to figure out what other things that interest you in IT that will eventually get you there. I would recommend though, if you're thinking about data analytics, there are big data technologies that you can also just kind of get some training on just to have a better understanding. Different frameworks There is machine learning training out there, and once again, the cloud. So just to kind of overall your perspective, these are things that you can do, but as you mentioned, you probably will most likely have to go a little bit further with education or really a strong network to even get you that internship.
Okay. So I should start with like figuring out about the cloud then?
Yeah, figure out about the cloud and really what is it that interests you, you know, and cloud is just one piece of everything of IT. So really understanding what it is that you want to do in IT and go from there and why. But I will tell you, between cloud, cybersecurity, and application development, those fields are not going anywhere. There's a lot of growth and opportunities within all of that. Infrastructure, I didn't mention infrastructure because that is a part of it. That's just something that's always going to be there. However, there are certain things that are going to be replaced that removes the human aspect due to automation, AI, machine learning. So I think what you're doing is a great lucrative area, but you're going to have to do a little bit more digging.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Jaslyn? Any thoughts on boot camps offered by academies or companies like General Assembly? How do employers look at these? That's a good question.
Yeah, so there are a few academies that I'm familiar with. I'm trying to remember exactly. There is a Code Academy course, and matter of fact, I can send that to you, Brittany, after the fact. The actual name slips my mind. It's very long, but there are a few academies where they actually train you. It's a training facility, right? And they'll train you for a good 6 to 9 months, and then they find a job placement for you, and it's just as good as an internship. The only thing is you're not getting paid for it. So yeah, there are some institutions out there. The resources that I listed in the previous slide, Udemy is a training academy online, cyberlynda.com, and Code Academy. So these are online training academies as well that provides free services and inexpensive services. So yes.
Yes, and I would say with some of the others like General Assembly, Flatiron School, those can be a little more pricey than
Right.
the Udemy and the Code Academy, Team Treehouse, those things. So I would definitely look into Udemy. It's a great platform, and their stuff is very reasonable.
Yes. Promotional every month too. So that's it's great.
Any other questions?
Brittany, I think there's a question from Allie. Says, I don't know what field I want to go in IT. What would you recommend I do with no prior experience?
So career balancers, I looked up a little bit earlier too. They have a great way for you to identify from an entry level with no IT experience. And that's honestly any industry, but it kind of gives you a path. But if you didn't want to do that, and what I would really do is sit down and write some things out. One, why are you looking to go into IT? And if you did, really think about some things that would interest you. And I'm going to take an example. As a kid, I love breaking apart my computer, the RAM, the CPUs. I really love, and then rebuilding it. So that tells you exactly where you need to be as far as hardware goes, right? So maybe you want to get into networking. There may be something where I really like putting together applications. I like how it's user-friendly, blase, blase, blah. That may tell you, okay, I really like to create things. I like the digital, I like applications. So that may put you in the application realm. Then there may be a sense where you're so thrilled about cybersecurity. We all see the many hackings that happens around the world, and maybe you feel like you can make an impact and change. I want to be this person to stop these security breaches, these security vulnerabilities. I want to be able to do something about that. It really takes for you to sit down and think about all the possible fields in IT. And that's just simple through research and discovery. I would never take it off of, someone told you this is the field that you're supposed to be in. Sure, think about what they said, but see why, but also really research the many different opportunities. And once again, you can major in something and totally change your field. I was sharing with Brittany earlier, I'm an HR major and now I'm in IT. I love it. So it just really depends on the translatable skills you have and really doing your research as far as what's going to be lucrative for you that really, gets you excited.
So Ali, I hope that that answers your question. It says that you still don't know what to focus on. And just to kind of reiterate, I think this requires you to do a little bit of digging within yourself to figure out what it is that you enjoy and where your passions lie. And that will kind of lead you in the path of what you should be focusing on.
Right. And sorry if I didn't answer that correctly, but it's essentially just that. That is the only way for you to really find out what it is that you want to do. And to be honest with you, a lot of us, when we go to college and even when we graduate, we still don't know if that's what we wanted to do. So these things will evolve over time, but at least if you're going to get into this field, just think of one or two things that really interest you about that field. There's so many fields, so write it out. Okay, if I chose cybersecurity, this is what I like about it. If I chose infrastructure, this is what I like about it. If I choose application development, this is what I like about it. I would do it in that way, a SWOT analysis potentially for you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Hi, Nusha. So glad you're on here. Nusha asks, do employers look at degree holders the same as boot camp graduates?
That's a great question. I would probably say it depends on the organization. I really believe a lot of times they still look for the degree aspect. And I do see a lot of people with degree and boot camp. So it just really depends on the organization.
While we wait for more questions, so please continue to type your questions in the chat. I just want to mention that our next session will be next week, June 10th, same time. And we will be going over how to use Career Connection. So it's the tool that I mentioned earlier about looking for jobs, but you can also do things like build your resume in there. You can do mock interviews in Career Connection. So we'll be partnering with Nova Workforce Development, and they're going to talk all about how to utilize that tool, which is free for any Nova student or alumni.